A very good morning to all my dear students. Today we are going to discuss about affidavits under the subject captioned as drafting, pleading and convincing. Before starting with the said topic, I just want to recapitulate what we have done till date in this subject. Dear students, as you are aware that in my previous lecture, I had discussed with you the concept of pleading, wherein I had apprised you its relationship with drafting and convincing as well. Thereafter, we have dealt with the types of pleadings or the meaning of pleading as defined under Order 6 Rule 1 CPC. Thereafter, I had apprised you about the fundamental principles of pleadings. Thereafter, I had discussed with you the concept of amendment of pleading and its verification of pleading. Under the verification of pleading, it is mentioned that the plaint must be supported by an affidavit. Otherwise, the same would be rejected under Order 7 Rule 11 CPC or under any other relevant provision of the code. Now, let's start with the topics on affidavit. An affidavit or the word affidavit has not been defined in the Code of Civil Procedure. My dear students, as you are all are aware that the Code of Civil Procedure is a procedural law, and on the basis of which the pleadings has to be drafted. So this CPC and the other procedural law, that is with regard to criminal, that is criminal procedure code, both have resemblance and both have an interplay with drafting, pleading and convincing. As such, the word affidavit has not been defined under section 2 of the Code of Civil Procedure, where various other expressions used in the code has already been defined. As per Wharton Law Lexicon, that is one of the law dictionary, defines affidavit as it is a written statement sworn before a person having authority to administer oath. The person making the affidavit is known as the deponent, for he deposits to the facts contained therein. And one of the examples you may note down over here, where there is a need for filing affidavit accompanied with that application or a plaint. The one of such example is interrogatories are answered by the affidavit. So if any party wants to have some query and ask to from somebody or the other party, then he may raised interrogatory with the permission of the court, but those interrogatory must be supported by an affidavit. It is also a declaration of facts that have been reduced into writing and affirmed before an officer competent to administer oath is also an affidavit. Now, how is it to be prepared or how is it to be drafted? It is a declaration put in first person and state facts alone and not the inferences. As you all are aware, that in written statement, the defendant may put some legal paras also regarding its objections to the plaint, like the suit is barred by law or that there is no cause of action in favor of the plaintiff, as the case may. So these are some of the legal objections that may be put in the written statement. But in, in contrast to the said written statement, the affidavit only contains the facts and not the law. In courts practice also, the facts are proved by affidavits. Order 19, Rule 1, CPC 1908 lays down that the following three rules about affidavits. Number one, power of the court to order any point of fact to be proved by an affidavit. This is the rule laid down under Order 19, Rule 1, wherein the court has mentioned that any court may at any time, for sufficient reason, order that any particular fact or facts may be proved by an affidavit, or that the affidavit of any witness may be read at the hearing on such conditions as the court thinks reasonable. And this particular provision has also a proviso attached to it, which says, provided that where it appears to the court that either party bona fide desires the production of a witness for a cross-examination and that such witness can be produced, an order shall not be made authorizing the evidence of such witness to be given by an affidavit. So from this, we may infer that it is the power of the court to order any fact to be proved by an affidavit. And exceptions are where party bona fidely desires that production of the witness for cross-examination is necessary, and that such witness can be produced, an order shall not be made authorizing the evidence of such witness to be given by an affidavit. Next, power of the court to order attendance of the deponent for cross-examination. This is the rule laid down under Order 19, Rule 2. And matters to which the affidavit shall be confined. Affidavit shall be confined to such facts as the deponent is able of his own knowledge to prove. So, while drafting an affidavit, it is necessary for the law student to be kept in mind that only those facts needs to be mentioned which the deponent is able to prove of his own knowledge, except on an interlocutory applications on which statements of his belief may be admitted. So with regard to interlocutory applications, his belief may be admitted, but with regard to the main plaint or with the suits, the deponent is able of his own knowledge to prove. So here the word knowledge is imputed, provided that the grounds thereof are stated, and all the grounds needs to be stated. The cost of every affidavit which shall unnecessarily set forth matters of hearsay or argumentative or copies of or extract from documents shall be paid by the party for filing the same. So all the cost incurred with regard to the preparing or the drafting of the affidavit shall be borne by the person who is making it, meaning thereby the cost shall be incurred by the deponent himself and not by any other person on his behalf. So these are some of the essential, or we may say, what the affidavit must contain. Next, CPC does not say how affidavits are to be drawn and sworn. And different high courts have, however, framed rules, therefore, by way of local amendments to CPC, to Order 19 CPC. As you all are aware that the procedural laws are put in the concurrent list, meaning thereby both central government and the state government can make or can delete certain sections from the code. That means the substantive portion of the law. But with regards to procedural law, which is contained in the orders and rules under the Code of Civil Procedure, for that the amendment can only be allowed by the High Court as per the provisions laid down under the provisions of Code of Civil Procedure itself. So under Order 19, some amendments have been made by the High Courts with regard to drawing and sworning up of the affidavit. Second, it shall be confined to such fact as the deponent is able to his own knowledge to prove, except upon interlocutory application where statement of his belief may be admitted. This is what I have already apprised you in my previous slide, and this point is covered by Order 19 Rule 1 CPC. Next. The grounds of the belief of the deponent are required to be stated in the affidavit with sufficiently particularity to enable the judge whether it would be safe to act upon the deponent's belief. What is this talks about the necessity of giving the affidavit before the court of law, because this affidavit ensures that whatever he is saying, it is correct as per his knowledge, and if it is found wrong or false later on, then he may be held liable or prosecuted for perjury under Section 340 CRPC or under the provisions of the Contempt of Court Act. So its consequence would be very harsh, and the person who is filing a wrong affidavit can be put behind bars. Now the next question is whether the word affidavit is included in the definition of evidence. Answer is not. It is not included in the definition of evidence as defined under Section 3 of Indian Evidence Act. Next. Now we are going to study about rules of drafting affidavits. Not a single allegation more than absolutely necessary should be inserted in an affidavit. So from this, only necessary allegations be inserted in an affidavit. Next, details of the deponent should be fully described in the affidavit. All the details like his name, his age, his father's name, or his qualifications, or his designation may also be provided while drafting an affidavit. Next, affidavit should be drawn in a first person. It cannot be made in second person or third person, as the case may be. Next, affidavits should be divided in paragraphs, numbered consecutively. As you all are aware that plaint is also to be drafted in paragraphs and numbered consecutively, and similarly in the case of the written statement also. The need for the same is that there should be some brevity, and the long paragraph sometimes confuses the judges. So to avoid the complexity in the facts and thereby to make a wrong statement, this affidavit should be divided in paragraphs and number consecutively so that it is easy for one to understand about the particular fact sheet narrated in the affidavit. Next, the persons or the places referred to in the affidavit should be correctly and fully described for easy identification. So the persons or the places referred in affidavit should be correctly and fully described for easy identification. When the deponent speaks of any fact within the knowledge, he must do directly and positively using the words I affirm or I state on oath. So these are the words that may be used by a deponent while drafting his affidavit. And this may also be taken into consideration by a law student while drafting one's affidavit. Affidavits should generally be confined to the matters within the personal knowledge of the declarant. So from this we may infer that the affidavit should be confined to the matter which are within the knowledge, personal knowledge, not derived knowledge, not hearsay knowledge. As you all are aware that hearsay evidence is also not admissible in law. Next, the declarant should state the source from which the documents are produced. So he has also, so from this we may infer that it is the duty of the declarant to declare his source from which that particular document came to his possession and discloses some facts about the discloses some facts which are stated in the said documents before the court of law. Next, the declarant should have the following oath or of affirmation written out at the end. I swear that this is my declaration is true and that it contains nothing false or no part of it is false. So, as I have earlier said to you that this swearing has to be true, and if it is false, then he may be prosecuted for false evidence or for perjury, as mentioned under CRPC and also under IPC. If there are any alterations in the affidavit, they must be authenticated by the officers before whom it is sworn. So as you all are aware that affidavit have to be sworn before certain authorities, which I am going to apprise you in my next point. And if any particular facts needs to be corrected or some alteration is to be made in the affidavit, then it must be authenticated by the officer before whom it is sworn. So he has to again go to that particular officer and to again take an oath and sworn it before that particular person. Now, before whom an oath on affidavit by whom it is to be administered. The relevant provisions regarding it is given under section 139. As you all are aware that there are two procedural laws. So there are two different methods given under two different laws with regard to this affirmation. One is under section 139 of CPC and another is given under section 297 CRPC. Though the language of both the provisions are somewhat similar, but from this we may infer that there is an interconnection between Code of Civil Procedure on one hand and Code of Criminal Procedure on another hand. And as I have already apprised you that affidavits would not come within the definition of evidence as given under the Indian Evidence Act. So from this you may infer that there is an interconnection between three laws, that is Code of Civil Procedure and Criminal Procedure and Evidence Act with regard to the drafting of affidavit. So one has to be very sound in law. As a law student, it is your foremost duty to kindly go through all the laws with regard to the drafting of the documents, whether it's affidavit, whether it's plaint, whether it's complaint, whether it's anything else. But before drafting anything, it is my humble request and direction to my all my students, before drafting anything, before drafting any document, please go through the law once again, and also have some interconnection between one law and a similar law on the same point. Next, before whom an oath on affidavit, by whom it is to be administered. In case of an affidavit under the Code of Civil Procedure, any court or magistrate, second, any notary public appointed under the Notaries Act 1952, any officer or other person whom a high court may appoint in this behalf, or any officer appointed by any other court which the state government has generally or specially appointed in this behalf, may administer oath to the deponent. So from this, we may infer that following are the persons before whom an oath on affidavit can be administered. And these persons are any court. Any court means any judge or the presiding officer of the court, or a magistrate. Next is any notary public appointed under the Notaries Act, any officer or any other person whom a high court may appoint in this behalf. So high court has also the power to appoint a person to give or to administer oaths. Next is any officer appointed by any other court or which the state government has generally or specially appointed in this behalf. So these are the persons before whom an oath can be administered under the Code of Civil Procedure. Now I am going to the similar provisions with regard to oath administration under the Code of Criminal Procedure. Authorities before whom an affidavit may be sworn under Section 297, as I had already apprised you that there is a provision, that is Section 297 CRPC, which provides that an affidavit to be used before any court under this code may be sworn or affirmed before any judge or any judicial or executive magistrate or any commissioner of oaths appointed by a high court or a court of session. So here one more word has been included, that is the court of session. Any notary appointed under the Notaries Act. So these are the persons before whom an affidavit can be sworn. An affidavit shall be confined to and state separately such fact as the deponent is able to prove from his own knowledge. So as like CPC, deponent is able to prove from his own knowledge such fact as he has reasonable ground to be believed to be true. And in the later case, the deponent shall clearly state the ground of such beliefs. And the court may order any scandalous and irrelevant matter in the affidavit to be struck out or amended, like in CPC. Order 6, Rule 16 CPC is also there. So this is the interplay between CPC and CRPC with regard to affidavits. Now, one more question which came to my mind right now, and that question is whether in all applications or complaint under the CRPC has to be supported by an affidavit. Generally, it is mandatory for CPC or civil suits, but it is not as such as strict with regard to affidavits under the Code of Criminal Procedure. But certain applications needs to be supported by an affidavit. And these applications are Section 156(3) CRPC, that is complaint made to a magistrate with regard to the filing of the complaint with him. And second is petition under Section 482 CRPC needs also to be supported by an affidavit. So these are some of the applications under the Code of Criminal Procedure which needs to be supported by an affidavit. So this is all about today's lecture. Before parting with the today's lecture, I just want to apprise you with the new topic which I am going to take in my next lecture. And the topic would be on application under Section 5 of the Limitation Act. That is with regard to the condonation of delay. Hope you have hope you have a good day ahead, and also have learned from my lecture. In case of any doubt, you may write it to me at my email ID, that is rahularoda.gn@jagannath.org. Thank you very much. We'll meet you soon in my next lecture on drafting, pleading, and convincing with the new topic. Thank you once again.